You ever wonder what it would take to completely transform a country? I mean, from the ground up? Well, today we're diving into a really bold proposal for Bangladesh. It's a plan so ambitious it could literally change everything. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so this whole vision is laid out in a book titled The Architects of Tomorrow. And what's interesting is, it's not just another book complaining about a country's problems. Nope. This is meant to be a detailed step-by-step roadmap. And the goal? Nothing less than creating, and I'm quoting here, an enlightened civilization.
This quote from the book's preface really sets the stage, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the whole thing. The core argument here is that Bangladesh is at this major turning point, this crossroads. We're just patching things up with temporary fixes. That's just not going to cut it anymore for these really deep-rooted issues.
So what's the big idea here? Well, at its core, this manifesto is all about tackling systemic corruption and inequality, head on. And the goal is, frankly, huge. We're talking about transforming Bangladesh into a global powerhouse, on the level of a Japan or a Singapore. And they're calling it a revolution for the rejuvenation of Bangladesh. Pretty powerful stuff.
But before you can build a new future, you've got to clear away the obstacles. And this plan, it identifies one absolutely colossal roadblock standing in the way. And get this, it's an obstacle measured in trillions.
So that begs the question, right? Just how big of a problem are we actually talking about here? What's the real scale of the challenge that this whole vision is trying to overcome?
Okay, get ready for this. The number they put at the center of this whole thing is, well, it's just staggering. It's 234 Lakh Crore Taka. Just let that sink in for a second. According to the book, that's the amount of wealth that's been illegally taken right out of the country.
And if you break that massive number down, you really start to see the picture. The vast majority of it, we're talking 230 Lakh Crore Taka, is what they classify as dirty money. The other 4 Lakh Crore, that comes from unpaid loans. So this right here, this is the exact financial target they're aiming to recover.
Okay, so you've got this massive 234 trillion problem. How in the world do you even begin to tackle something like that? Well, the proposal has an answer. You create a powerful, highly specialized task force. And that brings us to this, DAFA 1. That's the name of the proposed Task Force for Financial Reclamation. You can think of it as the central engine that's supposed to drive this whole thing. A massive initiative designed for one specific purpose, bringing all that stolen money back home to Bangladesh.
Now, the leadership structure for this thing is really interesting, and it's a key part of the plan. They suggest that the head of the Bangladesh Financial Intelligence Unit, that's the BFIU, the main agency fighting money laundering, should be a top justice from the Appellate Division. But then, to make sure things actually get done, a military officer would be brought in to handle compliance. So you get this blend of judicial authority and military discipline, which is really central to how they think DAFA 1 would work.
All right, so we know who would be in charge, but how would DAFA 1 actually get the money back? Well, the plan lays out a pretty detailed playbook, and it's a two-pronged attack. One international, one domestic.
First up, on the international front, the idea isn't to reinvent the wheel. It's to use the tools that are already out there. For example, the STAR initiative. STAR is a joint program run by the World Bank and the UN, and its whole purpose is to help countries get back assets that were lost to corruption. So it's a perfect fit.
Another major tool in the playbook is something called FAFIA. Now, this is a Swiss law, and it's a big deal because it gives Swiss authorities the power to freeze illegal assets that foreign officials are hiding in their banks. And here's the crucial part. It also creates a legal path to return that money.
So if we put all those international pieces together, you get a clear 4-step strategy. Step 1, use the STAR initiative. Step 2, work directly with Switzerland's own Asset Recovery Task Force. Step 3, go after what are called politically exposed persons, basically senior officials and their circles. And Step 4, use laws like FAFIA to actually freeze and get the assets back. It's a full-court press. And while all that's happening on the world stage, the plan calls for some equally tough moves back home. We're talking about putting military officers in embassies just to watch over trade deals, because that's a common way money gets laundered. The plan also calls for fast-tracking trials for offenders to get the maximum punishment, and putting any institution that gives out loans under super strict surveillance.
But look, getting the money back is really only half the battle, right? The other, maybe even more important half, is what you do with it. And this plan is just as detailed about what happens next. It's not just about getting the money back, it's about putting it to work.
So here are the top priorities. 3 key sectors would get the biggest slices of the pie, 20% each. Those are the military, the education sector, and small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. The thinking here seems pretty clear. You boost national security, invest in the future through education, and fire up the economic engine with small businesses.
And as you can see from the full breakdown, this thing is incredibly detailed. After those top 3, another 10% each goes to the state treasury and to agriculture. And the rest is spread out across the Zakat Fund, which is a type of religious charity, and also health, the judiciary, and the tech sector. I mean, it's designed to touch pretty much every single part of national life.
Okay, and this next point is really important. There's a ticking clock. The document makes it super clear that this isn't some 50-year plan. It says that real visible progress on getting this money back has to happen before the upcoming national election. So it ties the whole plan's success directly to a political deadline.
Now, the plan's call for very strict punishments is justified in the text with this reference from the Quran. This particular verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah is put forward as the basis for a system that has both severe penalties but also leaves the door open for forgiveness, but only for those who show sincere repentance.
And that brings us full circle. What we've looked at here is a detailed, incredibly ambitious, and, let's be honest, pretty controversial blueprint for a nation's future. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Beyond all the plans, the task forces, and the numbers, what does it really take to forge a nation's future?